Did they ever?
That's pretty wild.
That's ugly.
Supposed to like zoom in.
Yeah, that's going to be hard to fix.
I think I did something I shouldn't have without gloves and FR clothing.
And then all of a sudden you guys just doing stuff.
You are about to watch 3 BC Hydro first aid teams as they walk into an unknown accident scene and attempt to provide the best first aid possible.
See what happened to you.
In this mock scenario, an electrician suffered significant burns to his face, eyes, and hands as he attempted to test a 12,000 volt bus bar with a 600 volt multimeter. He was thrown back into his partner, knocking him to the ground. The burn patient is found walking around holding his eyes, while his partner is found sitting on the ground with a compound fracture of the left wrist. This is Team 1. They did an excellent job starting with their scene assessment.
Just talk to your patient there.
He didn't hit his head or anything. He's just
Ask him if he knows first aid.
I can help you out if you need, I guess.
Sure. Come on,
I do
come
for
on
you?
over here.
What can I do?
Let's see.
They found out what happened, shut the power off, and quickly determined that there were 2 patients.
just some rapid growths or nothing else.
Is that all you guys? Is that all your guys' stuff?
Yeah. Yeah. Could you bring that over here?
You want? Oh, do you want? Primary surveys were done on each patient, and the patient's burns were cooled in a timely fashion. They determined that one of the patients was RTC, which stands for Rapid Transport Criteria, due to electrical burns, and called the ambulance.
His arm's bleeding over here, guys. Yep, I got it, bud.
While waiting for the ambulance to arrive, the patient was placed on a spine board, supplied with oxygen, and a secondary survey was completed.
Second.
We've got a fractured wrist,
Do you want some splint?
bone protruding.
The patient with a compound fracture of the wrist was correctly identified as non-RTC, and his protruding radius bone was padded and bandaged. Notice the captain supplying the donut bandage for this purpose. However, as the patient's wrist was broken, his wrist and elbow should have been secured to a splint according to the principles of immobilization. The judge also made a note that some gloves should have been given to the helper. Once the patient's wrist was bandaged, they did a good, thorough secondary survey. The secondary survey includes recording the patient's vitals, history, and findings in the head to toe on the patient assessment form.
Okay, Terry. We're just going to roll you up onto the spine board, okay? So I just want you to relax, okay? Can you hang on to that and just keep your elbows into yourself there, bud?
It is important documentation that will assist the paramedics and medical staff in assessing the patient's condition.
How you doing there, Dad? How's he doing? Need oxygen? Okay. He's, did you do your secondary? Here, we're just gonna hear he can go.
Yep, we got your buddy taken care of. He's getting help.
2-minute warning?
So you're basically through the fall. Your buddy
2-minute warning?
Great job, Team 1.
Okay. Cheese. Great.
Time in.
Time starts.
This is Team 2.
Just one patient. Anything down your legs?
They determined what happened and locked the power out, but were slow to identify the patient with burns to his face and hands.
Your eye's really hurting.
Primary surveys were eventually completed on each patient. The patient with electrical burns to the face and hands should have been quickly identified as RTC, and an ambulance should have been called. An important thing they missed was cooling the burns on the burn patient. This should be done as soon as possible, and moist dressings should have been applied. As he is the priority patient, he should be the one that is supplied with the oxygen, as opposed to the fractured wrist patient. The burn patient should then have been packaged in a position of comfort, and a secondary survey should have been completed. The patient with the compound fracture of the wrist was mistakenly identified as the RTC patient and fully immobilized.
There, other side of you, right in front of you. What happened?
They did a good job of padding the compound fracture, bandaging the wound, and immobilizing the arm.
Recess.
Once on the board, the attendant should have completed the secondary survey.
Time. Thank you, folks.
Where the go-kart park, kids, if you want to be a driver, here's your chance. Get down there, see if you can get out there and move around with those go-karts. And you know, I've got to give them another flex.
Time in.
This is Team 3.
Hydrex has a 50-50 going on, so you win twice, right? You give some money to Hydrex, that's our down thing. And if you get
Hey, first aid, seat safe. Seat is safe. Okay, gloves are on. One patient. Okay, hey, how you doing? How you doing? Janet, you okay? Tell me what happened. Tell me what happened. Hey, you okay, man? Okay.
You know, while you're down here, I can see the Surrey Emergency Program. They have a
Great scene survey.
lots of great information about emergency.
Where's your buddy?
They determined what happened, made sure it was safe, and quickly identified that there were 2 patients. Primary surveys were completed on each patient.
Kids, don't forget about those go-kart rides. If you're over at the main stage where I am, it's just off the line left, so down past the food tent there, the blue and white roof, smoke coming out of it.
The burn patient was identified as RTC, and they called the ambulance.
And he's, I can tell he's getting ready to go, he's getting warmed up.
Cooling should have been applied as soon as possible to the patient with burns to his hands and face, and moist dressings should have been applied. Once identified as RTC, he became the priority patient and was supplied with the oxygen. They did a good job of bandaging the compound fracture, but did not meet the principles of immobilization, and no secondary survey was completed. The burn patient should have been packaged in a position of comfort, and a secondary survey should have been completed. No marks were achieved for packaging. As you can see, the patient does not look very relaxed.
Time! Thank you!
You guys did great.
Good job!
Here you go.
There you go.
Man, they're pretty realistic. Holy. Thanks.
Yeah, great. That's what I wanted everybody in BC Minor to see my leg.